My grandfather started a business, David Stein, in 1917. It was called Brass City Supplier.
He came over from Lithuania. He was born in 1887. He came over when he was in his late teens. I'm not sure what year it was, maybe around 1905, with nothing except his own abilities, his willingness to work hard, and desire to have a good life. He lived the American dream. He starting out with nothing. He didn't have a lot of formal education. He was a linguist. He spoke European languages. He learned English. He was self-educated, well-read. I heard the story about how he started out as a plumber's apprentice at Garrity and then branched off on his own, but when he sold his first oil tank, 1917. He really built the company over 30 years until his sons were ready to take over.
My Uncle Jerry actually started a year before my father. That was in the late 30s, I'd say. And then my Uncle Harold came in probably, I'm not sure if he came in before World War II or after. He was in the Navy, so he missed a few years during the war.
I worked for Jerry Stein, so, Jerry hired me. He was the actual person who hired me here. Those are the guys that, would give me help, Charlie, Monty, people like that.
Well, he was well liked by the people around him. He was high energy. He kind of ran the warehouse. I remember one story they told me, or no, other people told me. It was a hot day. They were unloading pipe delivery in the pipe yard. And my dad was thirsty, and if he was going to drink, everyone was, so they brought in some beer afterwards.
Harold and Jerry both had desks out at the counter area, and we didn't have inside sales there. All we had was sales, counter sales, and they did both phone and one-on-one, face-to-face sales. So I got promoted. I'm not even sure if you'd call it a promotion. I got moved from the picking department into the sales department.
I started in 1988 in the old building, and in fact I was sitting across from Harold Stein for the first 6 months on a desk like this. He was working on one side, I was working on the other side. It was pretty cool.
One person 100 years ago started this company, and set out, and then 100 years later we have 165 people, and the families that those 165 people represent truly makes an impact on a lot of lives, and just really incredible.
I think that culture has been very, very important to me and to Nancy and me. We feel it's very, very important that the people that work with us live our values. We think we care about each other. We care about being ethical and honest. That's very, very important to us. We care about taking personal responsibility for your career and taking personal responsibility for your activities and actions.
Because a large percentage of the Becker and Fasano family, because there's a lot of them involved in the company, they work close with all of us. They work as one of the employees, actually, a lot of them. They don't critique how we do things. They work along with everyone else really well.
I had a stroke. One of the goals that I set for myself was I have to get back to some sort of semblance of what I was. And work was always a very big part of my life. And I told them, and so I came back to work. And when I came back, as I said before, I just told Joel and Dave Petiti at the time that I just want to be in sales. I don't know what I can do, what I can't do at this point, but I think I can still be of service. And they treated me like family. They saved the spot for me. I mean, up until just a few weeks ago, I still drove a company car, which they ended up actually given to me. And I used it for a trade-in because I needed something a little bit bigger and something else, something easier for me to drive. So they treated me like family, like you can't believe. I don't believe it. So it was good, though. We have a very good relationship.
I came from a corporate background, and then I came from a family-owned company, so it's definitely a good mixture of both here.
The idea of being able to do those things that add value to people's lives, to be in a position to do that, is really quite special. Not many people get to do that. And so when I thought about selling the business, I wanted my kids and my kids' husbands and hopefully their kids to have that opportunity. It's a really, I would say, the gift that was given to me by Nancy's uncles and father was this gift of the ability to run this company and do good for people.
From a technology standpoint, if you didn't change over 30 years, 'cause I've been here for 30 years, you probably have a big issue. And so we drove a lot of technology into the company, and I was here when we had hundreds of thousands of handwritten pages and pieces of paper to where everything's digital now, right out through the manifests on the trucks. So if you didn't change that way, you're dead. But the thing that hasn't changed has been it's a family company for, I say 30 years because that's my experience with them, but it's 100 years.
Joel kind of computerized the company and expanded it to different branches, and inside sales became an important position, working the phones.
It was a lot of work, but it paid off. It was all going in the right direction.
When you work so closely with someone in their home, they start to get to know you. You spend months and months with them. You're in their personal space. You're working on their bathrooms. So I think the most important thing is when your customer comes back to you and just says, like, we couldn't have done this without you, or they send someone else in that they had to work with you because they had such a great experience. So, that's the goal. That's what it's all about, is to make our customers feel that way.
The feedback is that Torrco stands by its commitment to the customer, to making them more profitable, to making their jobs go as smooth as possible, and it's the support. It's also the relationship that we have with customers, both on a business level, but also on the social level outside of work. I know that there are many customers that socialize with me and socialize with all of our salespeople and our warehouse people. We all have personal relationships with them because you're working with our customers day in and day out. You pretty much, you learn about their families, you learn about their hobbies, you learn about what they do, and if you make a connection, you end up being friends with them.
Not judging a book by its cover and not being afraid, and don't say no. I answered the phone one day and somebody asked me if we had something in stock, and it was very minuscule. It was just a toilet seat, and I said, yes, we do, and they were so grateful. They're like, wow, well, we're in Fairfield. Can we come to your showroom? You have a showroom, I assume? I said, we absolutely do. And they said, well, we're actually on our way to a project, and we'd love to come by. We have to get a toilet seat, but if we could meet you and talk to you about our project. I said, absolutely. They came in, and it turned out to be a pretty amazing project down in Fairfield that they came up here, and I just, by luck, and we just finished our second great project with them. It was whole house renovation, 7 bathrooms and 4 kitchens, and so it's amazing what helping somebody and just being kind and wanting to just give a little extra will bring you. You never know.
I also want to bring up about, and someone may have done this already, but the long time relationships that we have with wholesalers around the country and the family's involvement in the various trade associations. And that started back with my father, Morris, and went right through Fred and Joel, and now our son-in-law, Chris, and how respected our company is in the nation, really. One of the old-time wholesalers, and as I said before, into the fourth generation, which is so unusual these days.
So at this point we have 6 showrooms. Within the past 3 years we've built a new one in Stamford, Fairfield, and we will be building a new one in New Haven, which we're just starting now. There are 18 showroom associates, and we have a really great close-knit team.
There's always challenges in the business. It's whether we're dealing with suppliers, whether we're working with our customers, whether we're working with the employees. And the thing that I love about working at Torrco is that in every aspect of one of those 3 areas, we're always working to get better. We have great people working here. We have great long supplier partnerships. Our customers, there's been customers, for years and years and years in each and every aspect of the business, whether it's a supplier, whether it's a customer, whether it's our own employees, we're always doing something to get better and better every day.
I've experienced a lot over the years, so everything from unloading water heater trucks in the summer to making sales calls with Fred Stein and taking some customers out to lunch and getting to know them. And I've been on sales calls with Joel before, and certainly I've been on had a lot of great interactions with other suppliers through our affiliation with American Supply Association and being involved in that network. I've been able to see the country and meet a lot of different people from a lot of different places. So I can't say that I got one story that it's emblazoned in my mind. It all kind of blends together. And it's been a fun ride ever since.
Putting away all the material, you know what everything is, so you handle it all, whatever. So when you go to the counter, it's just getting used to the plumbers, and they were a little bit tougher back in the day. They were, a lot of them were old timers or whatever, and so they taught you the trade. You bring them out the wrong fitting, and they, threaten to whack you with it. So, so you learn the business. They teach you the business.
Frank Sales taught me how to pack things without using boxes or bags. He just doubled up a string and stuck it through all the fittings and made a fancy knot, and that's how we packed it on the truck.
I didn't know that.
My first day of work, there was a man here named Ken. Now, we were not in this building, we were in the old building, and where I was sitting, the desks were facing each other, so you were looking right across at someone, and I happened to be across from Tom Cronin. And Ken came over and he gave me a hard hat and he said, "Make sure you wear this hard hat because things get thrown around in here." That was my first experience. Not long after I sat at my desk, I was given the hard hat.
Completely unrelated to work. An older gentleman drove into our parking lot one day in New Haven. He was in his 80s. This is probably too long of a story, but he comes into the building. He was clearly lost and didn't know where he was. Turned out that he had inadvertently gotten in his car to go to CVS in New Jersey, and he drove till he got to Connecticut. And he ended up in our store, and he was sort of destitute and lost. And we found him a home, and we got him to the hospital, and I contacted his daughter, and they came and they picked him up in Connecticut. But he left his car in the parking lot in New Haven. And I babysat that car for 6 months, and they never picked it up, and the daughter didn't want it back, and we kept it, and eventually one of our employees bought it. It's a crazy story. But we rescued the old man from New Jersey. A memorable story.
Ruth, the operator, she was funny. And I remember that she had gotten a call and the guy had asked her if we have sex hour. And she said, "Sex hour?" She goes, "We barely get a lunch hour." And everybody thought that was hysterical, and it was hysterical because she was kind of the dry humor type, and she was like, thought he was really asking, instead of the company, the sex hour company, she thought he was asking something else.
I was thinking about some of the early days and what happens in any transition from staff employee to manager is there's a time when you're one of the guys, and I can remember in my earlier years the company had a lot of pranksters.
They had Ronnie Mancini, and he had his stress volcano that used to bubble water up, and somebody decided to, in the morning prior to him turning it on, to put some dishwashing liquid in the volcano. So Ronnie came and flipped the thing on, and then when he came out, there was foam all over his desk.
I come back from lunch one day.
Bubbles.
I got freaking bubbles in there.
Then
I cleaned it out. Then it happened again. Then he admitted to it, Pat. He got me. I said, "You."
Yeah, well, edit that part. We had a list of sayings. Ronnie's notorious for sayings, and my sister was when she worked there too. And Hutch, God rest his soul.
I got the list.
We have
downstairs.
the list downstairs with Ronnie-isms and Joan-isms. There's U.S. Subway Base. What else was a good one? That was always my favorite.
Yeah.
Outdoor sales. What else did we have? We had a whole book. We
Ho, ho, ho. Remember your sister, every holiday, she was sitting answering the phone?
Yeah, gobble, 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 sound like a turkey.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Ronnie has his own dictionary.
He was a great target.
Marco's showing up at a golf outing that we did and had on crazy shorts and tall socks and that kind of thing. Just went all out, maybe. Yeah.
We had a maintenance guy, a cleaner, that we had hired through a cleaning company, who subsequently became part of the company. Don't ask me why I hired this guy. He was really sort of a crazy guy, but when he became part of the company, the guys used to play pranks on him. One of which was he had decided to paint the picking area. This is in the old warehouse, and he painted himself into a corner. So he painted the floor, and he painted himself. He realized that he had painted himself into a corner. He had no way to get out with the wet paint. So so what he did is he left his shoes there, so he didn't walk on it, and he was able to climb over some bins to get out. These guys painted the area where his shoes were and nailed his shoes to the floor. I remember that. So when he went to get his shoes were nailed to the floor, trying to see him walk. It was quite hysterical.
One of those you had to be there, but it's in the lore, in
Yeah,
the Torrco
yeah.
supply lore.
In some of the lore.
The warehouse also has been cleaned up considerably since over the years. They used to have dirty pictures, including Marilyn Monroe, who in later years was a customer, actually walked upstairs.
When I first opened up our Stanford branch, we opened up the showroom down in Stanford with the branch maybe 6 months after we opened the trade side. And I'm in the showroom one day, and all of a sudden I see Harry Connick Jr. walk in. It's like,
One day we had Daryl Hall in here, and we were filming the show with him. And then, another day, Emily and I were working the showroom on a Saturday, and we had a customer come in and sing and dance to us and do a striptease. So, it really goes, the spectrum is wide.
the 5-year view is going to be a building 5 years. I believe that we really, really need to build our outside sales force, as do other people in the company. I think we just need to get the traction out there, get the feet out there. It's going to be, there's tremendous potential and growth if we can get the feet out there to do the sales work.
I think we just need to keep up with the times and keep moving forward with having great people and great design. And, I think there's a really important place for the showrooms in this business, and people need it. They're always going to want to see and touch and feel everything, and the showrooms are a huge part of that.
I see the youth and the need to get young energy in the company. Hey, that's a hard one to answer off the cuff, because I think we just have so many moving parts right now.
The company today has such opportunities that, because really, it's, as I was mentioning earlier, we're attracting such good people, and I think they're being attracted by Chris and Don and the other, good people beget good people, and they have attracted some great salespeople, some excellent branch managers, and I think the acquisition of Commercial Heating Supply gave us some very, very strong people and lines. And this has attracted other good people. So we have real opportunities over the next few years to delve into some specialty businesses where the margins are a bit higher and the company has an opportunity to make a little more money rather than being in this very, very competitive commodity business that we're currently engaged in. And so I'm really heartened by that.
You know, the thing that I would like to say to the people who work for Torrco, the suppliers, and our customers is just a big thank you, because without any one of the three segments, it just doesn't work. And that is what makes a company successful in being able to arrive at this 100-year celebration.
I want to thank all of the employees of Torrco for doing what they do every single day. You guys have allowed the company to grow and become a very cool place to work. I also want to take the opportunity to thank our supplier partners, because they are integral to our business. And I consider them all friends, both suppliers and employees. So, thank you.